The benefit to chicken soup is all in the ingredients. Hey guys, welcome back to At the Table. Sydney here, and today we are going to be talking all about chicken soup. Chicken soup has been around for centuries and centuries, goes all the way back to even the ancient Greeks when they really combined chicken with broth, and that is the essential ingredients in your basic chicken soup. Today we are going to be making a chicken noodle soup. So of course there's lots of different varieties of chicken soup. Some might have rice, some might have noodles. This recipe specifically has egg noodles. But most of our chicken soup, the ingredients that are included in there, which is your basics of your broth, your chicken, and using some type of vegetables. Typically, carrots and celery are going to be your two very common ones, as well as garlic and onions. And then, of course, some spices and herbs here. These things are what help to make chicken soup so good for us, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that today as to why this is actually touted. Of course, it's been from grandmothers and mothers have told us long, many different generations that this is what we need to eat when we don't feel well, right? When we're sick. So there is actually some science behind that, and we're going to jump into that today. So first, we will get started with just chopping up some of our ingredients. I do have garlic, and garlic is known to be an anti-inflammatory, and that is part of why it is so great for a chicken soup or whenever you are not feeling well, because a lot of times when we are not feeling well, there is some type of inflammation that's going on in our body. You might have, your throat is inflamed, you've got excess mucus, all of that. And garlic is known to help with that. So just because of the great properties of garlic, it is a good one to add to your chicken soup. And I will add that with chicken soup, there is a difference in that homemade chicken soup versus buying the pre-made varieties. Now I know that when we're not feeling well, we don't usually want to cook. So this might be something that you could make ahead of time and freeze. Or if you've got a really sweet family member that wants to make this for you, maybe you are that sweet family member that's making something for a loved one who's not feeling well, then of course, doing that homemade version is going to be the best. And I'll talk about a little bit later some things you could do to even beef up maybe a canned soup variety as well. So we're just cutting up our garlic. We have 3 cloves here. This recipe I'm using is from budgetbites.com. I received their newsletter. They actually do several newsletters in a week, so I get all kinds of recipe ideas from them, but most of them I would say are pretty healthy. I wouldn't say that all of them fit into our more healthy categories, but they are very affordable, and they have a lot of ingredients that are easy to find, low cost. It also shows you the price of the items. So if you are, of course, groceries are so expensive, maybe you're preparing for the holidays. I've already started looking at that stuff now that I have a little one, and of course with kiddos things get so much more expensive. So maybe you're trying to cut corners a little bit here and there, but you still want to make healthy meals for your family. Budget Bites is a great resource for that, as well as us here at Extension. All right, so we've got our garlic done. What we're going to be doing, I'm cooking this in our Instant Pot today, just because it's going to help it to be a little bit quicker. So they do have this recipe available in a crock pot. You would pretty much do everything that I do today, but let it sit for about 4 hours. Or you can do the stovetop method. Then it needs to simmer for about an hour. We don't have that kind of time today. So we're gonna do Instant Pot and cook it for about 25 to 30 minutes. And I'll kind of walk you through those final steps as well. Just trying to get my onion peeled over here. I should have did this ahead of time. So we're just using one yellow onion here. And onions are another one that have been known to have those anti-inflammatory properties as well. So along with just really great flavor that onions provide, they are definitely a great resource for when you are not feeling well to add this to your recipes. So if you've never seen me cut an onion, I always cut it in half. We keep our hair. I know I used to talk about this a lot when we first started the show. Haven't walked y'all through some of this in a while. And then I just kind of cut through these little grooves here. So you see these little grooves. It kind of ends up looking like a blooming onion once we're done with it. So then I go the opposite direction and I just cut down. And we're doing that rocking motion here. And you've got perfectly diced onions. Once I get to a point, I just rotate it. It kind of gets difficult to hold it that direction. And I go in all different directions here. And that's it. Throw that away. So I'm gonna finish cutting up our onion. We're gonna take a quick break and I'll see you guys back to finish up our soup.
Most aging adults want to stay in their homes as long as possible. And as your loved ones get older, you want to support them, even when you can't be there. Star is proud to offer Star Alert. This new system is now mobile and has GPS compatibility, so your loved ones can live their lives and you can have peace of mind, knowing they can get the help they need with just the simple push of a button. The new Star Alert also offers automatic fall detection, so help will be alerted even if they can't press the button. Call and ask about Star Alert today.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we have our onions and our garlic all chopped up. I see one onion that's a little bit longer. So we are gonna go ahead. I did turn on my Instant Pot to saute. If you were doing this at home, if you were not using an Instant Pot, you could just use your regular stock pot and saute there. We'll also saute our carrots and celery as well. If you're doing the crock pot, honestly, I like to saute a little bit, but you absolutely could throw all this stuff into a crock pot raw, just let it sit. So totally up to you with time and all that you have at home and what you're working with. All right, so pretty good there. We'll let that, I did just turn it on, so it'll take just a minute to kind of get heated up and you'll start to hear it cooking. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna do is chop up our celery. And it says about half a bunch of celery, but then there's another recipe that, it's the same recipe, but they have one for the crock pot and one for the stovetop. That one says that one says 4 sticks of ribs of celery. So I just grabbed 5. That looks like about half of my bunch. Of course, your bunch could be a few different sizes. Now here is all up to you in your preference of what you like your pieces to be in. You could leave it in the large pieces and just cut it. I like them to be a little bit smaller because y'all know I like bite-sized pieces. I like to get a little taste of each vegetable in every bite. So for me, I go with a little bit smaller here. So we are just gonna do our rocking motion. And this is simply just me keeping the tip of the knife on the board and I'm just working my knife down. You could do this in smaller. Of course, I've got kind of a wide row here. So in addition to of course, our anti-inflammatory benefits, we do get lots of vitamins and minerals in our chicken soup. And a lot of this comes with the vegetables that we add. Specifically, we're getting some vitamin C. We also get some vitamin K or potassium with these carrots and celery. So great choice here with our vegetables. You could absolutely add other veggies that you enjoy, but you're gonna get different health benefits depending on, or different vitamins, let me say, depending on the vegetables that you choose to add. So this is kind of more preference here in what you enjoy. But most of our chicken soup recipes do contain these two specific vegetables. So there was actually a study that was done in 1993, and this was the University of Nebraska's Medical Center. It was Dr. Stephen Rennard, and he actually looked at his grandmother's chicken soup recipe and studied what the benefits of it were. Why was chicken soup so healthy and so good for you? You know, how was this actually helping us to feel better? So what he found was what I'm talking about today. This is where this information came from. So this was a medical study where he was looking at the white blood cell count and the different properties of his specific grandmother's chicken soup. And he does actually share that recipe if you ever look it up online. But it's still been talked about today. So I think this was one of the first studies that were done to look at the effects of chicken soup and how it is helpful in aiding in colds. Instant Pot decided it was done, but we are not done. So I definitely encourage you to look through that. It's pretty interesting to see these different components. One of the biggest parts of the chicken soup that's so beneficial was the gelatin. And this is going to be naturally in the chicken that you're using. If you're choosing chicken, the best thing to choose would be something that's bone-in. You get more of that gelatin if you are using a bone-in option. So what we have today is split chicken breast. They're actually a little bit cheaper than if you were just buying chicken breast. So that is also, of course, a bonus. We're looking for cost saving these days. And we're actually going to take some of that skin and we're going to cut a little bit of that fat off of the chicken. You do have some of the dark meat that's in the ribs of the chicken, but we're still getting a lot of that flavor and a lot of that, the benefits that come from using a bone-in chicken option. All right, so what I'm gonna do next, I'll finish chopping up our carrots and celery here, and I'm gonna saute those up just for a few minutes, and then we'll start working on our chicken next.
Eastern North Carolina is a beautiful place where we gladly choose to call home. And we strive to provide the best communications services. STAR is committed to improving communications to all our service areas because we want to improve the communities where we not only work, but also live. STAR Communications. We are neighbors serving neighbors.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we have our celery and carrots in our pot along with our onions and garlic. What we're gonna work on next is we're gonna go ahead and add our seasonings, work on our chicken a little bit, and we'll actually get the Instant Pot started. So I'm gonna start with my seasonings first. We are just doing a little bit of thyme, parsley, basil, a bay leaf, and then a little bit of salt and pepper as well. So I'm gonna make a little bit of a mess while I do this. So we need about a teaspoon of our basil. And then we need about a half of a teaspoon of thyme. So I'm just gonna do a light amount. Of course, you can do any spices here, but spices are definitely something that has been used for a while to help provide health benefits. There's all different kinds of spices do different things, so something to look into. But we absolutely know that spices help to flavor our food and make it taste good, and there are also some great benefits to them as well. So we're gonna do half a teaspoon of parsley, and then just a bay leaf. Just gonna do one of these, just make sure, of course, you pull this out at the very end. Once you're done cooking, trying to get a good one. There we go. We don't like them when they get too cracked because then it can kind of hide in whatever you're eating and you can find it later. It can be a choking hazard, especially for some of our little kiddos. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on saute just to get it warm and kind of heated through. I'm gonna add 4 cups of water here. And then I'm gonna add, that is our Instant Pot saying it's on. I'm gonna add just a little bit of chicken broth as well that I already opened. So our recipe actually doesn't call for chicken broth, but in reading some of the comments of the recipe, some of it said it was kind of lacking a little bit in flavor, and I feel like a big thing would be to add chicken broth. So if you're looking for, calls for 8 cups of water, then I would maybe substitute a little more chicken broth or do half and half. We are just gonna do 6 cups because typically the recipe also calls for you putting the noodles into your pot. Even if you did a crock pot recipe, the crock pot option, it also says for that to even do like the noodles at the very end and just let it sit for about 15 minutes on high with the lid on. And some of the comments were not very positive with that said the noodles just did not turn out very good. So we are gonna actually just go ahead and make our noodles separately. So I have a separate amount of water. Typically, your noodles would be soaking up some of that water. So keep that in mind. You can also, of course, cook your noodles in chicken broth if you want those to have a little bit more flavor as well. But for that reason, I'm just cutting back on the water a little bit so it'll be more evenly distributed. All right, so we're gonna work on our chicken here. Now, I have for this split chicken breast. So if I turn these over, you can see this does have the ribs still attached. It is bone in, and this is really important when it comes to our recipe, our chicken noodle soup, or chicken and rice soup, any type of chicken soup you're doing. So with the bone, what you're getting, you might have heard me keep referencing gelatin earlier, and there's a lot of health benefits to gelatin, but what they're really referring to is the collagen. And what happens is as chicken gets cooked down, that turns into the bones, and what the bones can provide turns into a gelatin. So chicken broth is usually made from our leftover chicken parts, or if you're just cooking your chicken, then you're gonna have a little bit of broth as well. So just from that. So we're gonna have a little chicken broth naturally from this recipe. Of course, we added that extra chicken broth in there for more flavor. So what we're getting with those bones is that collagen that's gonna be added, or the gelatin that it will turn into as it's cooking down a bit. So that is super important simply because it does help provide a lot of health benefits in terms of what we're talking about here. So you do get some joint health, some bone health. It'll also help with that anti-inflammatory properties. So really great here to make sure you're using the chicken with the bones. I am going through and cutting some of this skin, so it does call for us to remove the skin. This will help it to be a little less fatty. We are going to get some of that tender meat from the ribs that are in the back, and that'll be great as well. So we're still going to have a lot of that good tender meat in there. We don't necessarily need the skin or the fat for a ton of flavor. We're gonna have it elsewhere. So some of the fat I'm kind of leaving, but any of this excess fat, kind of removing a bit. So we're just gonna throw that in, and that's it. I'll see you guys back in just a second. We'll get our Instant Pot on and then we'll work on our noodles next.
Providing fewer commutes, more backyard offices, and crystal clear meetings. Providing less, you froze up, and more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we have our chicken in our pot. You can see some of our seasonings. One thing I did not add yet is our salt and pepper. So what we're gonna do is just add a little sprinkle of this. This is really just to taste. Your chicken broth is already going to have a little bit of that sodium added to it. So we don't wanna go too heavy here with the salt. You can always salt later. Don't ever be scared to leave less salt in your recipe, because it's better to add the salt later and you be able to get it to the right amount of salty flavor that you're looking, than to add too much and not be able to take it away, right? So that looks pretty good. Everything's covered with our liquid. So just making sure that everything's in there, that our chicken is kind of pushed down. And we're gonna get this rolling. So like I said, the original recipe, there's two different variations. One called for your crock pot recipe. So it said 4 hours on high or 8 hours on low. To change that over to an Instant Pot, typically we are gonna cut that down to like 25 to 30 minutes. So if it's 4 hours on high, it's typically about 25 to 30 for your actual pressure cooker that you're using. So we're gonna cut that down to about 25 minutes. Like I said, the recipe also said that you could add the noodles in and let those cook in there. The other variation of this was in a pot, and you just cook everything in a pot. You saute just like we did, just like we sauteed in our Instant Pot here. And then you add everything in and you let it simmer on low for about an hour. So that one takes a little bit longer. Then you add your noodles and cook according to your package directions. So we're switching this up a little bit, just based on the comments. I always encourage, if you're looking at recipes online that you haven't made before, see what they're saying in the comments, try some of the things that they have suggested, if it sounds good to you. And always remember, recipes aren't rules, so you can switch things up however you like. You could do different spices in here. You could do different flavors that you want. You could do the chicken broth or skip the chicken broth. So totally up to you here for how you want to change this up and make it your own. So what I'm doing next, we're just gonna cook our noodles real quick. And this is not gonna take too long. It takes about 6 to 8 minutes. So this will take quite a while. It's gonna take about that 25 minutes. So we're gonna have to show you guys that at the end. But part of this process is when it comes out, we're gonna take our chicken out, we're gonna shred it. So you want it to be cooked well enough that it will shred. This is where that simmering on low will come in handy. This is also where the crock pot cooking for a good lengthy amount of time will come in handy to make that chicken nice and tender and easy to shred. Same thing here. Typically any of our electric pressure cooker recipes, they tend to make your meats very tender because it's all pressure locked. You've just got moisture in there, and that's gonna keep your meat moist, and it'll also help to avoid it getting dry. It'll then become so tender it will fall apart very easily. So this is a great method for making soups and stews and things like that. We do actually have an electric pressure cooker workshop coming up. It'll be November 30th. So if you're interested in using these, or you want to learn more about how to use an electric pressure cooker, if you're just interested in making more soups and stews, that'll really be the focus of our class. You can absolutely join us. It is $10 for the workshop. It is in the evening, but give us a call. We can get you signed up that way, and we'll also link in this show how to sign up as well. So we're just getting this to a boil, and then we're gonna add our noodles. Still taking just a few minutes. And we'll just, I think, go ahead and wrap up. So you guys know how to cook some noodles. It's very simple. You boil it. We're going to drain it once it's done, and we'll just throw it into our pot. We're also going to shred that chicken. So if you are working through a cold this season, hopefully not, but there's a lot of stuff going around, this is a great option. Do your variation. You could do rice. You can do different vegetables to make it your own. One other thing I forgot to mention, we talked about soup if you are buying the store-bought kind. What you're missing there is that it's going to be cooked even more to make it a canned product. So do you want to make that even to get more of these health benefits? Adding your own chicken broth, some homemade broth with chicken that has been cooked on the bone, chicken parts you've cooked in water and boiled down to make your own broth, or adding a few extra vegetables to it. That can absolutely help to beef it up and add more of those vitamins and minerals and antioxidants in there that will help you to feel better. Any type of hot food also does tend to relieve some of that sinus pressure that we tend to get with being cold and just not feeling too well. So those are some tips and tricks. I know I mentioned I was going to say that earlier. So we hope that you'll make this. We will show you guys what it looks like at the end, and we'll see you guys next time on At the Table.